On this panel table tonight.
Thank you.
And I would like us to start from the testimony of tonight that was read earlier on. What a challenging time for the family.
Very challenging. 7 years, it's really a long time.
7 years indeed.
Wow, it is.
Quite a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, let's look at it. A man without a job for 7 years. Let me start from Tayo. Can you marry someone without a job? Someone who is not working?
Oh, well, first of all, I think I share with them because 7 years is no joke. 7 years is no joke. Now, for me, it might not be the man that doesn't have a job. Perhaps it's both of us. Neither of us should be without a job. So if peradventure it so happens that at this point in time, it doesn't have a job. Not that it doesn't have a job, it can't have a job, it's not even thinking of having a job. I think they are two different things. So if he's been on a job, then he lost his job. So in between jobs and he has the mindset that is growing, that is desiring, looking forward to getting a job. I think I can consider that. But fundamentally, I know that earning an income is critical. Earning an income is very critical in considering the person to marry. I'm just saying that it shouldn't now be that because he doesn't have a job. I mean, except it's so pathological that he doesn't have a job, he's not desiring to get a job, there's no mindset that is forward thinking, that wants to, get a job, then I think they are two different things.
Wow.
Then I wouldn't do that.
So the potential to earn income
Yes.
is very critical to you making
Absolutely.
your choice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Owen, can you marry
Okay.
someone who is not earning income? From Tayo's point of view, let's talk about earning income now,
Right.
rather than just saying somebody who doesn't have a job.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Earning income. For me, in the present climate, and
Please let us know the present climate.
the present climate is the economy, even around the world, and all that. I think two people looking forward to go into the future together should have capacity to earn. Should have capacity to earn. So if one person is not earning income, that wouldn't really be an issue. My own is if the person totally lacks capacity to earn and wants to marry, and I feel as if the person wants to be a freeloader, I will have an issue with that. But if I can see, potential, I see drive, I see, and you realize this person needs support, or the person has a target, has a goal, and all that, then it's worth giving it a try. Yeah.
Mosa, do you want to add something to that before we leave that?
I would really just say that there shouldn't be anybody that should not be earning an income. Tayo said something about income now, because there are two different things, job and income. Incomes mean what is coming in to you, what is coming in financially. So in the days that we have Google, in the days that we have online jobs, so I think what we should now be saying is that what is coming in? What is the amount that is actually coming in? It's not necessary that it has to be huge, at least, because even if you are trying to go into marriage, now that you are even single, how are you sustaining your singlehood? That should be the question. And when you now have more loads, you have your wife and you now have children, so how will you sustain them? So you should even try to have an income. So my own take would be, it's not necessary, it's even start from somewhere. And from there you pick it up.
Wow, thank you. Our summary tonight is that for everyone desiring to go into marriage, it is very essential for you to understand that there's virtually no area of your marriage that you will not require money. You will pay bills. I need you to know you're going to be paying bills. So if you are coming into marriage as a man, you should understand that you need to be earning income to provide the basis for your family. And if the Bible says that you, wife, you are going to be a help, you should understand that to be a suitable help, you need to be earning income. If the man have responsibility to attend to, then you, the help, you are expected to help him in all ramifications. If he's going to pay for rent, you got to help. If he's going to pay for school fees, you've got to help. If he's going to buy a car, you've got to help. So I tell people, I say, you are the assistant, whatsoever the man is meant to be. If he's the president, you are the assistant, you are the deputy president. If the payer of bills, you are the assistant payer of bills. So viewers tonight, you need to understand that we spend money and we pay bills. Finances is very critical in marriage.
Don't forget, an idle man, an idle hand
Good.
is actually the devil's workshop. So.
Thank you very much. Let's move quickly. We have questions rolling in tonight, and we want to do due diligence to them.
Okay.
I'm going to start from Bosse tonight.
All right.
I am in a serious relationship, and my fiancé is suggesting we pool funds together. This is an offshoot of what we just talked about. To pool funds together to get our own place. What should I do? We are not married. We are just planning to get married. I'm in a serious relationship. And my fiancé is suggesting we pool funds together to get our own place. What should I do?
For me, I don't think it's a bad idea. It's not really a bad idea to support. Remember, you are actually supposed to be an helpmate. You are supposed to be supporting this person and be helping this person. But first thing you will consider is what amount is he even bringing to the table? Is he expecting you to bring the huge sum of money? Let's assume you have to pay like 1 million or like 800,000. And what percentage is he actually, what does he have? You have to support. If the question will now be, or the issue will now be, if he's asking you to say, the amount is 1 million and I have like 200,000, and you go and bring. So putting funds together, it's no bad idea for me. You have to support, but obviously, it is his responsibility. Let us see what he has to bring to the table, then how we support him.
Wow. Owen,
Okay.
you are the man now. Let's hear the man's perspective.
For me, there's a part to the question that really caught my attention, and it spoke about cohabiting. You know,
Is there cohabiting there?
there's no cohabiting.
No question. No,
I'm in a serious relationship with my fiancé. My fiancé is suggesting
we put funds together to get our own place. Our own place.
And cohabit pending the time we get married. So for me, that's the part I have an issue with. Good, they are planning towards a future together, which is fine. But I don't think, for me, my personal opinion, I don't think they should be pulling funds together to cohabit. They could let them get married first, and then they can build this plan further from there. Because it's possible that even at the stage of them being, fiancé and fiancée, something could go wrong. Something could go wrong, and what happens when they have pooled those funds together, and let's say something happens and they ultimately do not end up getting married? It's an issue for me, personal opinion. So I don't think I would love to do that.
Well, interesting about that cohabiting. Good. That's interesting. Something could actually go wrong. Are they even supposed to be staying together in the first instance? In our climb, in our tribe, it's not something that is encouraged. And that's the reason why we're actually focusing on the fact that, let's say they are preparing towards marriage.
But I think the question says fiancé, meaning the person you are engaged to.
Engaged to, you understand?
Oh,
So
yeah.
we've established the fact that cohabiting is a no-no because they are not married yet.
Absolutely.
But we're looking at the fact that, when people want to get into marriage these days, they have expectation. Oh, I want to live in Banana Island. I want to live in Victoria Island. This young man who is just trying to step into the world, feel Egbeda Akonwojo is what he can afford. You understand? You are saying that, we can do something like GRA Ikeja. And your fiancé is now saying, okay, Can we pull funds together to actually get the place of our own based on what we are both looking at? Tayo, what do you say to that?
Okay. I think pulling funds together, for me, it's not a bad idea.
Okay.
I mean, the question is, it's an equation of, okay, I have this certain amount. It's not going to be, I mean, I need us to pull our funds together to be able to acquire or, get a place where it will be comfortable for both of us. I think it's really not a bad idea for me. Except if, of course, it's looking like you go and bring the funds or you bring the majority of the funds, then it's going to be a problem. But as long as it's coming from a place of, it's in context, and I know that accommodation is only one of the things probably that we have on the table. So let's pull funds together to make things happen. Then I think it's not a bad idea. But it shouldn't come, for me, it should not come from a place of bring the majority of the funds and then let's just do it. Let's just move on. No, it needs to be in that context. And I think, yes, the sense of responsibility, keyword, responsibility, must be coming from him.
Wow. Sense of responsibility must be coming from him. We believe that the man has responsibility to the family. He is the provider. And when we say provider, we mean he should be able to provide the basic. What are the basic? Shelter,
Right.
clothing, transportation, and what again? Food. Those are the basics. But when we talk about this issue of pulling funds together to get a place of your choice, I feel that transparency is required in this point. As long as the man is transparent enough, it will be, so to say, out of place for a woman who sees what the husband is collecting, and you definitely know that this amount cannot even pay for the place of choice that you both want.
Absolutely.
I think it is very important for you to sit down, because that's what you actually be doing in the marriage. You'll be dreaming together, you'll be doing things together. I know there are so many theories around this issue of fun things. Somebody said, your money is money, your money is my money. But when we were taught that marriage is a covenant relationship, what belongs to A belongs to B, what belongs to B belongs to A. We think that it won't be out of place if you put funds together, knowing fully well that you are engaged, you are on your way to getting married, and it's sure you are getting married. And that's the reason why you are looking at pulling funds together. But for cohabiting, no. And if you are not set to get married, you understand? We go into marriage with faith. You understand? Trusting that all things will be right. So, all the best as you pull your funds together. God will sustain you. Another question. I'm in love with a guy and my older sister thinks it's a good guy too. But my parent doesn't like him. My parent doesn't like him. And probably they are refusing him. So then let us stand on, it's a different thing if they don't like him. Good, they may still give their consent. Right. But I want to believe at this point you are saying that your parents are not willing to give the consent because they don't like him. As much as I don't want to disobey my parent, what should I do?
Well, parental consent is actually very, very important. We all know that. But first, it has to be you, because you are the one going into the relationship. You need to say you are in love with that guy, fine. Then after, have you taken all the necessary things, the spiritual maturity, financial maturity, health, and all that? If that is set to you, and you really know, you are convinced that you want to go into the relationship with that, that's settled. But for your parents, I think you need to find reasons why they don't want you.
You need to engage them.
You need to engage them. You really need to know why don't they want you to have this relationship with this guy. You know, people say, or we have the saying that our parents, they really know, or they've seen what we are not even seeing. Who knows, maybe they are really seeing some things that we are not seeing at this stage. But they are your parents. You have a relationship with them, my dear. Ask them, engage them, sit them down, mom, dad, what is the issue? What is happening? And if there are issues that they have in that, you know that maybe there are some fears that they actually want you to clarify or rectify, then I'm sure, since you are the one in that relationship, talk to them and lay their fears and let them know that this and but if there are still some issues that you know that they just don't like this guy. They don't want you to, because we have some. Because I coordinate singles, and I have been in a situation whereby I've counseled people that they will just give excuses. I've even seen someone that said because the guy is not handsome. I'm serious, that we can't introduce, or because of maybe social status. You understand? So you really need to look out for all those things, why they are not, why they don't want. If it is things that you feel that they are just excuses, flimsy excuses, then maybe you need to take it further to a higher authority. They are your biological parents. You are talking in here. You have spiritual parents, my dear. Why not take it to them? You have your pastors as mentors. You have your leaders. Take it to them. This is what is happening. I'm sure maybe I can't talk to my parent at this point. Can you engage them? Can they come over? Can you have a meeting so that they can help you talk to your parents? And if this thing is still continuing, because I've seen situations whereby things will still continue and linger, and your parents are still saying, no. You are ready, my dear, you're 40, time is going, 42, 43, 45. What do you do? Will you still be leaning on that flimsy excuses and say, Mom, I think for me, I will go ahead.
Oh,
I'll
right.
go ahead. I'll go
Tayo,
ahead.
do you have anything to add to that? I love that area of spiritual parents, and I'm going to talk more about that.
For me, in as much as I respect parental consent, I think sometimes our parents, not in all families, that relationship between children and parents are very good. So those things can degenerate to a point that the parents, just because of not having they could be a stumbling block sometimes. They could just for that and no other reason. So while you go ahead and pry further and try to engage them and all that, it would be if they are stiff-necked, they are stubborn, they stay on their this thing, but you have a leading and a calling. You believe God is leading you in that direction, and we have followed all what she has advised. You carry your spiritual leaders along, and possibly they come to plead with your parents on, your behalf and all that, and your parents are still,
Uptight about the
yes,
situation.
then I think you can move ahead. Yeah.
Tayo.
Then I just want to add that you shouldn't forget the aspects of prayer. That's very, very important.
Yeah.
Because you can pray and God can change the whole thing.
Certainly.
Prayers are
Certainly.
powerful.
Certainly.
Prayers are powerful.
Certainly.
And I totally agree with, what they've both said. And in addition to that, I'd like to add that the place of premarital counseling is critical. Because I know that sometimes the reality is there's no relationship, just like Web said. There's no relationship between the parent and the child. So whether you like it or not, the parent is not able to communicate it effectively to the child. The child is not even, the son or the daughter is not even ready to, is not saying what the parents are saying, even though it might be a blessing. Mm-hmm. Even though many a times it's a blessing. Mm-hmm. But in the place of premarital counseling, you have other people that have objective eyes to just see things with you. They can even help to demystify some of these things with the parent. And so it will just make things easier in the medium term and in the long term.
Thank you, Tayo. You just hit the nail on the head. In the place of premarital counseling, those things your parent couldn't explain, sometimes they just don't know why. They can't explain it. They've not seen anything, but whichever way, they just feel something is not right.
Yeah.
Right.
In the place of premarital counseling, a counselor is able to do that by running some tests for the two of you. There are some things that will be picked out, and probably the counselor will be able to ask you, have you noticed this? Have you noticed this? Will you be able to cope with this? But in the absence of none, that's why we are talking about that you can move ahead to your spiritual parents. This star is good in that. We've had cases like that was brought to church, and we're able to look into it. The pastors went down to meet with the parent, discussed with the parents, and some were resolved. And some that were not resolved, the spiritual parents were able to give their backup. We are not against the parental consent of the biological parent, but the truth is that you must have either at any time.
Absolutely.
If you don't have your biological parent,
Absolutely.
you must have your spiritual parent to lean on.
Absolutely.
But you can't do
Right.
without it. Any.
Right. True.
You must have one. So if you have yourself in that situation, we need you to please ensure that you work with your counselor and also carry your spiritual parent. The church is a place of solace for you. Carry them along and they will be able to help. But do not elope with that man. Do not elope with that woman, because you may find yourself to the blame, because what you can't see while you are climbing the tree is what our parents sometimes see. And I was talking with some pastors earlier on that, see, the place of profiling should be brought back. In those days, our parents do a lot of profiling. They go from one family to the other, even to learn about the grandparent. I think we should go back to that, because it is very, very essential. There's so many things we don't know these days that is coming to show up in marriage later on.
And sometimes some profiling can even be done, aided by social media.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what we call do your due diligence.
Right.
Do your due diligence.
I remember my brother's father-in-law. When my brother was about getting married, the man came all the way from up north. He came to find out where my family is.
Wow.
For the sake of his daughter.
That's interesting.
So that profiling
Critical.
works. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So you hear that tonight? We are bringing profiling back. Okay, next. I love this one. I'm in a serious relationship, and from all indications, my fiancé does not want to have a child. Should I go ahead? Tayo, over to you. My fiancé, from all indication, my fiancé doesn't want to have a child. Should I go ahead?
Okay. I think that's a serious one. And saying that from all indications, we might even need to now understand. She might need to know, okay, what's his reason? What's his reason for not wanting to have a child? He will certainly have a reason. Now, are these reasons, or is this reason something that had not been talked about before? And if this is not aligning with our own values, I think it's something that can actually determine the trajectory of that relationship from that point. So I think the place of value alignment comes in there. If family is core value to you, and to you, family includes you having your own child. It includes a father, a mother, and a child, or children in the house. And the other person, the value is just cohabit, just be partners, partners on purpose, whatever it is. If it's not aligning, I think it's big enough to break whatever relationship you then build going forward. So it's serious, it should be discussed. What's the reason for not wanting a child? Is it something that can be resolved? Is it even that he is dealing with stuffs? Or is it final? Is it what his decisions are based on probably, is it like a forever thing? He has said, I don't want to have a child and I'm not having a child.
Or is it just for the first 2 years of our marriage?
For the first 2 years of
enjoy
marriage.
ourselves just like couples we do?
Or is it that he's traumatized over something, he's trying to deal with that, so he doesn't know how to express it, and he's calling it, oh, I don't want to have a child. What does it mean for him? So these are questions I think needs to be clarified and really know, what does he mean by he doesn't want to have a child?
You know, Tayo, before you started attempting to answer the question, I wasn't looking at that direction, that this thing actually need to be discussed to find out what exactly do you mean that you don't want to have a child. So don't just assume that the guy doesn't want a child. There may be a lot to it than you think.
Absolutely.
So in the process of asking this question, discussing it, finding out what exactly is it? Is there anything from your own background that you feel is the problem with children? Or because we shouldn't just assume. I think it is very important. If you are there, you send this question, we need you not to just take a decision anyhow. You've got to engage this guy or this lady and ensure that you discuss this. You may even have to sit before a professional counselor who may be able to check out and find out what exactly,
Absolutely.
because don't see this guy or this lady as a wicked person, but somebody who
Right.
could be a victim of some circumstances that
Absolutely.
actually need help. So we don't just,
Absolutely.
because you know what, if this person is, it's all about his belief system.
Yeah.
And if your belief system does not align,
Yeah.
your belief
It's a
system
problem.
shape your activities, shape all that you do in life. So we need to be able to have the same belief system, align these values so that we can move on.
Absolutely.
If this is not going to work, then we may encourage you not to go ahead, but this decision is still yours, because honestly, alignment of values in marriage is very, very critical. Bossa, you want to say
I
something?
just want to say that who knows, maybe the problem that he even has, or the reason that he has that he doesn't want to get married, there are even things that if they discuss it, maybe because he has actually thought about it and he has not seen solution or found solution to it, he could discuss it with the fiancé or discuss it with people, and before you know it, the problems will actually be solved. So basically, you've discussed it, and things, there will be a solution to that. That's what I will have to say.
This is very interesting. I had this experience about 20 years ago, and I would like to have our views on this. It's very, very interesting. The Bible says we should abstain from premarital sex. So how do I ascertain its potency and sexual orientation? How do I test the sexual compatibility? You know, all those stuff. I've had it, and sometimes I laugh. So who goes first? When?
Okay.
When? Let the men. You know, most of the time we are the one that actually want to test rev. My friend told me, how do you buy a car? You know, first test and rev it, vroom, 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 and to check how the speed will look like. So when?
Anyway, for me, this doesn't align with my belief system. My belief system, I don't believe in testing. And
Why don't you believe in testing? I'm saying that. How do you ascertain?
Yeah.
You want to get into marriage and suddenly realize that she can't perform?
Now, based on experience, I've hung around a lot.
Which experience?
I've hung around a lot of married people.
Okay.
You understand? I've hung around, there are people and all. Marriage is not, in my view, is not straight cut. So you can test all you want to test. It is not a proof that after testing and everything looks so good that it will continue that way. What's the guarantee that after you tested that the woman now puts to birth and all that child will live to become an adult? There's no guarantee. So you could test all you want. You could do all you want, but so long as you don't, it's not based on God's principle and you're not following through with God and believing that God is leading you through, you can do all you want. Your power is limited. So you test all you want, you achieve all you want, but there's no guarantee. You get the child, but the child turns out to be an armed robber. So there are so many things. So for me, it's not my belief system.
What's that?
Well, I think the question says, how do you ascertain?
Certain, yeah.
You ascertain, as a scientist, as a logical person, you ascertain by asking questions. Can you ask him? Do you really need to first test
What are the
before
kind
you
of questions
even,
you can ask?
What are the kind? You guys are supposed to be in a marital. You are mature adults.
Okay.
For marriage is about two people that are mature spiritually, financially, socially, health-wise, physically, and all that. So there are some questions. I think Pastor Bimbo Dukoya of blessed memory wrote a book about 165 questions you need to ask before you say I do. And you even have some other authors too that have written questions.
Bosse,
so my question will be, ask him.
what question will you ask?
I will. I can't ask. Why can't you ask?
Tell us some of the questions. The person is asking this question. How do I ascertain his potency?
So his potency, is it not a question of him?
Yeah.
Ask him. And obviously, if he is potent, he will say, I am potent.
Okay, very good.
So you've ascertained that. If he says yes, then another person might now be asking that, what if he says no? Or if he says yes and he is not potent? then that means will you even be going into a relationship with someone that is that deceptive? That's what you should even be asking now. Another thing that I will now even be asking, can we even lean on the spiritual aspect? We have the Holy Spirit. The Bible says he's a revealer. We depend on the Holy Spirit. He can reveal it to you now, even if the person lies.
Thank you, Boss Tayo. As a therapist, are there questionnaires or metrics that you can use in ascertaining sexual orientation and potency? And some of the things, honestly, because these are good questions. We've had people gone into marriage and they suddenly realize, I've had to mediate between couples who ended up marrying and one thing or the other as regard their sexual life was not in place. So is there any way you can help couples before getting married without actually going to the act of testing it physically?
Okay, so first of all, as I listen to the question, I see a part of concern. That means she is concerned. So there's a concern. If there is a concern, I think that then go and carry out tests. I mean, there are potency tests that you can go and carry out if you have a problem with that, like you have a problem. Because if you try to ask questions sometimes, it's good, but it's still quantitative. But there are qualitative tests you probably can carry out that can help you ascertain if you are at that level of concern about it.
Probably she must have seen something.
She must have seen something. But fundamentally, I believe that value system also speaks to where you stand. Value system. So whatever works for you, if scriptures, I mean, fundamentally, I would like to tilt to the side of, okay, scriptures is standard, right? And that is you abstaining and all of that. But I know that it's not the same for everyone. So if you are at this level of concern, I think that you can go ahead and do request that test be carried out.
It's becoming so trending, and in fact, most of our parents these days, we even be the one telling their children, how can you be engaged to a lady and you are not sleeping with a lady? One came to me and said, his mother told him that a lady will leave you if you are not sleeping with her, that if you are sleeping with her, she will stay with you. That why will you not sleep with her before you marry her? And I found that honestly, I share your view and I feel you wherever you are. But honestly, I need to let you understand that we enter, like I said earlier on, we enter into marriage by faith. A friend of mine, 20 years ago, we were working together. I was married before him, and I had my child. And he was telling me, Tayo, I cannot marry a girl without first sleeping with her. I must test her to be sure that she can get pregnant before I marry her. And he did. But it's 22 years down the line. The last time I saw him, I asked him, oh boy, what's happening now? One child since 20 years ago. He said, we are looking up to God. I said, you looking up to God? The God you did not look up to, you remember, tested and okay and certified, QED. That was all you told me. Now, I asked him what happened. He said he doesn't know. So if you test and okay, to you, everything is okay.
Yeah.
But what about after 2 years, 3 years?
You're not living.
And you now begin to experience a lot of, who will you call? Can you not trust God to be sure that who you are going to spend the rest of your life with is okay? And like Tayo said, if there are tests you can do, if it's become a concern for you, if you can ask questions. Like I was telling somebody recently, I said, my wife asked me some questions while we were cutting about 28 years ago. One day she just asked me, what do you feel about my breast?
Ask questions.
And I said, what is it about that? As if she knew what I was thinking about. He said, because I know you men, you like women that are busty. I said, you got it right. I was actually thinking about it. But you know what? I just told myself, I consoled myself. I said, I knew what I would do. By the time we get married and I do it, they will become so big. You want to know what I did? Meet us in class. Go and collect your courtship form and meet us in class. I will teach you one of the things that is so I can allay your fears. All things are possible to him that believe. What you don't see now, you can see later. You understand?
Yeah,
so don't judge the beauty of a gift by the kind of wrapping paper you are seeing.
Yeah.
Try and unravel the wrapping paper. it is then you will see how beautiful the gift is. Don't rule out that brother, don't rule out that sister. Things beautiful are inside there. Let's go ahead. We still have a lot of questions here. I am 35 plus and single. Most of the guys that's been approaching me are not Christian. In other words, they are not born again. I have one now who is very serious and truly ready. I have other Christian guys who are friends, but they are friend-zoned me. They are friend-zoned me. In other words, they are simply friends. They just want to stay at the zone of friendship. There is one of my unbelieving friends now who is seriously ready and told me last week he's ready to come and see my dad. What should I do? I want to throw it back to Tayo. You mentioned some things earlier on. This is a believer who had friends, Christian friends at friend zone, not ready for marriage. But the only one that is ready now is an unbeliever. And he's saying the guy is ready to come and see his dad, a dad. What should she do?
It's actually a reality that is real. I mean, that is true. And I know that is so true for her. I mean, at 35, she's probably, you can even sense a pressure. You know, there's a lot of pressure in there. So the pressures are real, and we can't unsee that. We need to reckon with that, right? Yes, these pressures may not be things that we can wish away or we can will away, or, you know, they are there. But as much as possible, they don't alter who we truly are or what our values are. The question is, in the next 5 years, what will be important to me? In the next 10 years, what will be important to me? Or what would matter to me? In fact, in the next 2 years, in fact, in the next 1 year, because sometimes with these pressures coming from family, coming from friends, coming from even self, sometimes, you know, you just don't get to see even the immediate future. And then we are clouded. Yes, you've always known you don't want to go ahead with with an unbeliever because you have stayed till this. You have stayed this long, or you have stayed this long. But now, because of the pressure, you're not seeing further from where you are. You're not trying to. You're seeming to want to settle. So, is that what the situation is? Are you settling now, or have you always known that you could marry an unbeliever, and you didn't mind? Or maybe when you were 28, 30, and all of that, like some 5 years ago, it mattered to you. Some 2 years ago, even last year, even maybe a couple of months ago, it mattered to you. But now, just because it seemed like the pressure is increasing, the situation seems not to be changing, and this seems to be the only person around me now. Is that the reason I want to make my decisions? Then I'll ask you, in the next 2 years, what will be important to you? And then that will help you to probably connect back to that value system. I always like to put it as fundamental. Scriptures is standard. So you don't want to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. But the question is, what is true for you as value system? And that's where that's where the help is. If it's value for you, then you need to look at it.
Thank you, Tayo. I want to ask the other panelists on this question because I want us to treat so many other questions coming from the YouTube. We are having questions rolling in. But to round off that, you need to understand that a believer is somebody that has a belief system. So if you are a believer, you have a belief system. You call this person an unbeliever. That means the person does not share the same belief system with you. It won't work. Amos 3:3 says that can two work together except they be agreed. So if you marry because you are under pressure now, you're going to face more pressure when you marry somebody that does not have the same belief system with you. And your belief system will determine your activities, how you speak, where you go, how you dress, belief system shapes your value. Absolutely. It determines what is important to you. Absolutely. And just like Tayo said, what is important to you today will definitely change. If you look at Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, you understand. definitely it keeps on changing, and may you be able to stand as the things go on changing in the future. So please take note of that. Don't be unequally yoked with unbeliever. I need us to go back to that first question. Somebody is asking. He said, what happens if the lady is earning more than the man? Will it be okay for her to drop larger chunk of the money? You know, we talked about they want to put money together. Questions that are coming in now. Want to put money together to get a house of their own. But you realize, due to transparency, the lady is earning higher than the man. Will it be right for the lady to put... I hope it's not a man that is asking this question, Sha. You understand? But let me ask the ladies. Bosse.
Oh, well, for me, I will still... It is still his responsibility.
Agree.
And let him bring the higher chunk of that money.
Even though...
If I'm... It's not as if I don't want to support. But at this stage, at this time, you started supporting, something huge, and you wanted to know the sustainability of it. It's not as if I can't still help or put a larger chunk down, but I want to see his own intentions too. What does he have? I know definitely he's someone that we really want to be like, oh, it's not as if I want to put the larger responsibility on you. But if it is tending towards that, then I would not want to put. But if it is like about where do we even want to stay? Why do we even have, and I'm earning more, why not? I can put the larger chunk down and support him for that. That's for me.
Owe, do you have something to add to that?
For me, I don't know. Let me put it this way. My own value system, my belief system, in as much as I would want a supportive wife and all that, I don't feel I'll ever be comfortable
as a person,
to get to a point of total dependability on my wife. No, I don't feel I'll be comfortable.
But is your wife separate from you? I want us to have a open mind here tonight.
Okay.
Is your wife separate from you? Two have become one.
Two have become one. True. Two have become one. I'm still learning. I'm still growing and all that. Concerning this question, I doubt I will expect her to bring more. And if she chooses to bring more, it will be out of her own volition. I will not compel her.
I love that. Yeah. Out of her own volition.
Yes.
You understand? Even though it's any more than you, and you have the means of paying for that rent, you may not bother her. Well, this is my own perspective. I know, Tayo, we have something to say. I usually tell people, I say, if I can afford it, I go ahead to do it. Because I know her money will be for, there's this thing they call, what's this, our dollar account? What do they call it now in Nigeria?
Forex.
No, they call it reserve.
Okay, reserve.
Okay.
You understand? Because there will always be a time you will need a reserve. You see, if I'm the one buying the clothes for her, if I'm the one doing everything, and she's virtually not spending the money, when there is time for the money to be called upon, I know she will put it on the table. You understand? But honestly, if you have the money, as long as you can judge that your husband is not a lazy person, is not somebody that is stingy, but somebody that is transparent to you, you will support him to any length. That's the way we are going to put it. If you cannot really afford it and she's having the money, we are sure that she will release it.
I would just love to add, I don't know, with the little experience I've seen around the few families I've been around, I've observed things that when a woman feels loved, she goes overboard.
Yeah, true. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Like somebody said, a woman wants to feel loved, a man wants to feel needed. You understand? You know, as much as you have the money, that's another thing I've seen in while counseling people. I see men come to me to complain that my wife does not record to me. If she feels we need television, she just decided to go and buy television and put it in the house. I can't imagine. How would she do that? She's not even asking me. A man wants to feel needed. The fact that you have the capacity to do it does not mean that you should not even ask your husband that we need the television. Yeah. It's very key. You need to know that. So, somebody said, Tayo, What if what is coming in as income, they're about getting married, but what is coming in as income is not enough for either of the spouse to be together as family? What is coming in is not enough for the two of them to be husband and wife, to be as a family. Should we hold on to not getting married, or what?
Okay, so what will be enough? Maybe that's the question. What will be enough?
Okay.
Then will you actually get to that point where you have enough? So when you say what is coming in, it's not enough. I mean, I always like for us to put things in context. So when you say, okay, what is coming in is not enough, is it that in the last 3 months, in the last 1 year, I mean, that's the income pattern. So which suggests that probably in the next 1 month, 2 months, maybe 6 months is going to be the same. So what is coming in is not enough right now. I think, let's put all the cards on the table. So all the cards needs to be put on the table. What's coming in right now, it's not enough for you to be husband and wife. So what's the picture you're seeing? What is it not enough for? How much is enough? So is it not enough to do a wedding, or not enough to be okay, the person said to be husband and wife. So what does that mean? If it's not enough to be husband and wife, it means that probably you're not, I mean, the income you're earning is actually not probably even enough to cater to for one person. So how do you intend to sustain yourselves? So these are places, qualitative or quantitative, specific questions need to be asked. Okay. Yes, I understand the place of faith, and sometimes you don't even get to have all that is required before you move on with the journey, which is why it's beyond what's coming in. It's what's around it. How much are we looking at as what should be enough for us? Then what needs to be taken care of? How can we size or cut down or grow into, what we have designed for ourselves as a life? So I think those are critical questions that need to be asked.
Okay, so we are saying that for you, as someone going into marriage, if your income is not enough for you as a person, it won't be enough for the two of you. But if your income is enough for you as a lady, your income is enough for you as a man, coming together, putting things together should be enough for the two of you.
We'll make it easier.
Make it easier. So we don't know what you are talking about, not enough. But what we are saying is that what will be enough should be determined by the two of you. And everything grows in marriage.
Absolutely.
I mean, the power of synergy for the two of you is real. When you put forces together, you grow. When you dream together,
absolutely.
In fact, by the time you come together, you can begin to look at how to generate more income. And you begin to go into, just like the testimony, they said they begin to learn new skills.
Right.
And can you say, that's the way they... So you don't need to wait till you get married before you start adding value to each other. Marriage is a value-adding adventure. So you need to begin to add value to each other and begin to see potential and encourage each other to go into so many things. I have a question here from the YouTube. It said, where is a premarital counseling supposed to take place? The man's church or the ladies' church? Maybe I should answer that. It doesn't have to do with church.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be with church. You can decide not to go to church. You can go to a professional counselor. There's nowhere it is written that you must do your premarital counseling in church. Premarital counseling is not a criteria for any church to wed you. Premarital counseling should prepare you for what you are going to face in marriage. So if you are thinking, you are concerned about doing a premarital counseling, there's nothing bad in doing it in a church. So you can even do it in your spouse, your fiancé's church, and go and do again in your fiancé's church. I mean, the man and the woman's church. You can do two. I've seen people who do two. But most importantly, why don't you even seek professional? Except in your church, there are professional counselors. I advocate for that. Be sure you are actually having a premarital counseling, not just a counseling that is just a criteria for you to be married in that church. Absolutely. We won't waste time on that.
I wanted to say things about content. What is the content of the premarital?
Exactly.
It's not about location. Okay.
I notice that every time I find someone I like to be serious with in a relationship distance and people's opinion, I notice that every time I find someone I like to be serious with in a relationship, Okay, distance and people's opinion separate us in no time, longest being 6 months. The person is talking about the fact that the distance relationship and the people's opinion about, marriage by correspondence. Do you think it will work? Bosse?
Yeah, I think, we are in actually a global world. And the issue of distance really shouldn't really be, it can be a challenge, but it shouldn't be. I've seen people, I even have friends that they actually met on Facebook and they are doing well and doing extremely well in their marriage. I even have one that they met on Instagram and they are doing so well. So for me, distance really shouldn't be. But the most important thing is, even while you guys are even distant, maybe he's in the US or in Nigeria, what are you doing? Are you doing your due diligence to actually getting to know the person more? Then as regards people's opinions too, will it be people's opinions that will even form your values and what you will even be taking into marriage? So for me, it's not as if you shouldn't get advice and all that, but it shouldn't be their opinions about, it is, because people don't really, when it comes to like meeting on Facebook, meeting on, some people have reservations to it, which is valid, you understand, for them to have. But at the same time, my own is do due diligence when it comes to this. Know the person that you really want, the location, wherever you actually want to meet the person. It's not in as much as you know what you are looking out for in that person. So that's for me.
Well, there are ways you can carry out your due diligence. Yeah. We use Facebook and everything that someone is involved with to actually check the kind of person is. Even recruitment agencies are using that these days. What is important is that you do your due diligence and probably have an avenue for you to meet each other so that you can make informed decisions. Because, the truth,
conference call.
The truth is that you have to meet the person, whether through a friend, whether through Facebook, whether through providence must bring you together. So in fact, you may not even meet in the church. You may just enter the mall and see somebody, and you just got to talk. You can meet anybody, anywhere. All that matters is that you do your due diligence. Or when somebody asks, when should I start premarital counseling?
When should you start premarital counseling? I would go with our standard, which is, for me, after a proposal has been made and accepted. Premarital counseling should follow.
After a proposal
has been made and accepted.
So just pick up courtship form. Yeah. In Daystar, pick up courtship form. A counselor will be allocated to you, and you can start your premarital counseling. And if you don't want to use the church avenue, you can go pay for a professional counselor. You understand? Counseling session, and you'll be helped through. There's another question. What do you do when you are constantly asking his opinion? He wants you to make a decision without him. Does that mean he doesn't have feeling? In other words, you are constantly asking him for his opinion about something, and he just wants you to take a decision without him. Does that mean he doesn't have feeling? Tayo, you are in a relationship, and you are asking him or her, now you are asking him about his opinion. There's something there's this statement that wherever there's no involvement, there's no commitment. So you want to carry him and you want to involve him, but you are asking for his opinion, and he's asking you, go and make your decision.
That's an interesting question, really, because for him to say no, or ask someone else, probably is coming off as every time you come and ask me questions. I don't think it's a problem to ask questions, from your significant other or your partner. I mean, who else do you have in that context? You have him very close to you, and then you're asking him questions, it's not really a bad thing. But when he's now having a problem with it, so it might be important to now check that, is it that is beginning to feel like, okay, there are some questions that are not probably, you should be able to figure out, probably he himself does not even have answers to. And he doesn't want to come off every time like I'm trying to resolve this, I don't even have answers to them. And that will bring me to say that one of the important things I advocate, I mean, even when I take classes, I mean, or one-on-one sessions with singles, I encourage the place of relationship. And I call it like an architecture of relationship that we should have as singles, even before, or as a human being really, but importantly as a single, before this relationship begins. This will help us to moderate our expectations from the man. It's not to say that we don't expect him to answer questions and all of that. But sometimes there are questions that probably it is your mentor that probably will be able to answer that question. Sometimes there are questions that probably it is someone that is like an elder or a father or a leader or something. It's not to say that he can't play any of these roles, right? I think I need to put balance to that. It's not to say that he can't play any of these roles. But just in case, at least at this beginning phase of us starting off our relationship, I should not belabor you really, right? If you're able to help in that context, fine. I want you to just be, to be in that place, irreplaceable place of my sweetheart, the romantic relationship, that we have. It's a relationship, but it's not all there is. There are other significant relationships that need to be built. That's around relationship, and we should align our expectations so that we don't belabor him, because it could also come from him to you, really. When he starts to ask you some questions and you don't have answers, and it becomes like a pattern, you feel tired, frustrations, will brew. So I think it's important that to really moderate expectations, we need to have like a design of relationship, architecture of relationship around our lives that are functional, so that we don't belabor our partners. So to her now, if he's not able to answer it, what kind of question are you asking him? Okay? If there are questions that are personal questions that you feel he should be able to answer and he's not answering, and it becomes a pattern, then it's an issue. You can flag it, discuss it extensively even, or in fact. But if there are questions that are maybe business questions or ideas question or maybe something, I think when we have a design or architecture of relationship around our lives, it will help us to really moderate some of these expectations.
Could it have been a function of communication? If you ask a question and you don't have an answer, is it not possible for you to explain that, as regard this, because I think that it is not the statement, it is not answering that actually is the problem. It's the fact that go and make your decision. Go and make your decision.
Seeming lack of
you understand?
involvement.
Yeah. I think it's about communication now, because I quite agree with you with what you have said. But I think that, like you ask somebody a question, anything, whatever you want to do. You can do anything you want to do.
I'm fine with it.
But I think that even when you don't have an answer, there's a way you can respond to your spouse that can make your spouse to understand, or somebody you want to marry to understand that you don't have an answer. In counseling, sometimes when people ask me a question, I keep quiet. And some of my clients I've gotten to know is that we know when you don't have an answer, you just keep quiet. Because in counseling, when you have nothing to say nothing. That's a rule. So you understand, but in relationship, you just don't keep quiet, because your silence is also an answer. So please, I think...
even look at it in the case of intention in here. Maybe it doesn't, maybe what he just feels is that we should both be making decisions together. Let me even have your own part to what you are thinking about.
Or
and
is it possible that the woman is just depending on him to do everything and
exactly.
said, you go and take the decision,
So
fail.
Belaboring.
You fail and come, and we will sort it out. But at
Exactly.
least take the decision on
So
your
he's
own.
just thinking-
Whichever way, I think if you discuss it like Tayo have said, it will work. There's another question coming up. Bosse, can you help us shed light today? What do you do when partners take offense whenever you suggest that they develop themselves?
Well, for offenses, for me, it actually has to do with individual and the personality. Why is the person taking offenses? Can it be a case of communication? Can it be a case of maybe the way you are even saying it, presentation, what you are even talking about when you are talking about? Some people can even say, look at your mates. I've seen a situation. This is actually real life. This question they're asking me, I've been in a situation whereby, not me personally, but somebody was actually telling me that the person wanted him to study more, to do like a professional skill. And what the guy actually told her, look at your friend Tola. Look at what Tola is actually doing. So should it be a case of presentation? Are you trying to say, I want you to learn more skills? Have you done Azure, and you actually want to do more when it comes to project management and all that? Do you want to do this? So it depends on how you are presenting it. So don't take offense. Then even if you are taking offenses, maybe it's becoming regular, can you discuss with that person that I don't really love the way you are putting this to me? You want it's something that you want me to do. It's my growth. You are after my development. You're after my growth. Then discuss it with me in a very mutual and respectful manner.
Thank you, Bosse. There's what to say. There's how to say it. There's when to say it. And there's where to say it. There are ways you need to present things to your spouse that will make your spouse to accept it. Let me quickly round off with these two questions, then I can take our parting notes. Number one, does it mean that without counseling, marriage will not succeed? We are not saying so, but counseling, premarital counsel, prepares you for what you may likely meet. Preparation is very important. We have been taught that when success is guaranteed when opportunity finds you prepared. People who prepared are better off in handling situations than people who don't prepare. When you are open up to things that you may likely meet and you are able to prepare towards it and you grow yourself and mature yourself in that area, you can be sure that when challenges come, remember the man that built his house upon the rock and the one that built his house upon the sandy soil. They were both subjected to the same condition, but we're told that the one on the sand fell, and great was the fall. But the one on solid rock stood. So building on solid rock is part of preparation. And let me remind you again, church counseling is important. In Daystar, if we are going to join you together as husband and wife, you need to pass through our counseling session, premarital counseling classes. We have professional counselors in Daystar. The content is rich, and we can guarantee that it will prepare you. That person that asked the question that, does it mean that if you don't have premarital counseling, you won't succeed? I need you to know that preparation is very, very important. Do not. For all the postmarital counseling we are doing, we found out that it is the lack of the premarital counseling that caused it. So please note that. And as we go tonight, we also want to remind you that your singlehood is a gift from God. Maximize it. It's a blessing from God. Don't take it for granted. Enjoy it till you start your marital life. God bless you.
Daystar, raising role models.